Hey there everyone, welcome to another installment from the Chronicles of Ol Boostrap. Today's video brings us to Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is my first time being at the park and I finally get to experience a bucket list coaster I've been hoping to ride since I was a kid. This video will be in a similar fashion to the Cedar Point portion of this trip, as I did little vlogging, but still took lots of footage and wanted to share my experience at the park itself, the rides, and basically the brand new campsite. It's a really good location and not far from the park at all. It's probably the cleanest and nicest RV camping resort I'll ever go to, but that's also because it was practically brand spanking new. I will, however, say Cedar Point's Lighthouse Point is far better because you can actually just walk to the park entrance, where here you actually need to take a shuttle. Like many RV resorts, it has a camp store, but it really bumps it up with this massive lodge area, a huge pool and recreation area, a small food court of sorts, full laundry and shower facility, as well as cabins and golf carts available for rent. They also offer a shuttle that will take you to and from Kings Island, but it will stop at park close. So if you want to do a night ride on the Beast, be warned, the shuttle may not be available. More on that later. As you're getting to the park, you're met with this beautiful European-style village with an Eiffel Tower greeting you. And yes, you can absolutely take the elevator up to the top of the structure to get some great views of the park. Simply a must-do. Now to my favorite part, the coasters. While not as many options available as there are at Cedar Point, there are quite a few here that leave a lasting impression with me, one of which is legendary. So watch all the way to the end to see what my top 5 favorite rides are here at Kings Island. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, and leaving me a comment below letting me know if you have gone to Kings Island and whether or not you agree with my top 5 picks. So let's get started with the Bat, only because it was down and we didn't get to ride it. However, we did ride a similar style coaster at Cedar Point, so I really don't feel a loss on this one. Next up is In Vertigo. Frankly, we didn't even bother getting in line for this, as my buddy and I both look at it and thought it just kind of looked lame. I mean, maybe we should have just a ticket on, our coaster count, but I didn't feel a loss missing out on this one. However, we did go on Boo Blasters because we cannot resist a good dark ride. However, I've personally grown a little tired of these blaster style dark rides, but it was still cool to do at least once. Next up is Adventure Express, another simple mine ride style coaster similar to Cedar Creek Mine Ride at Cedar Point, and just another all-around fun time. Always worth mentioning a mine coaster, am I right? I really like the theming of this next coaster, called Flight of Fear. It's a totally enclosed coaster with a launch, in a way similar to Rock and Roller Coaster at Disney. However, this ride was pretty dang rough considering it is an inside coaster, so we only rode this once. Like Cedar Point's Gemini, Kings Island also has a dual Woody coaster called the Racer, a much older coaster but in surprisingly great shape. Got to ride both sides of this one and was really impressed with how smooth it was for a Woody. So it's pretty dang good. I think I liked it a little bit more than Gemini almost. The next coaster almost made it to the top 5, and that's Banshee, a suspended steel coaster like Cedar Point's Raptor, while overall a mostly technically pleasing ride with lots of flips and twists and a pretty slow barrel roll. I don't really come off this coaster with any takeaways, so I just feel like it's missing something. Maybe it needs a larger footprint or even better theming on it. I really don't know. With that said, we finally made it to my top 5 coasters, and I'm sure my list may surprise many of you as it did me. Starting with number 5, the Backlot Stunt Coaster. While small, it packs a mighty punch, launching you up a 3-story circular climb. And this part had actually grayed me out, it's that intense. The rest of this ride is filled with great theming, intense turns and stops. Sprinkle in some scenery and some fire, and it's an all-out thrill. And I believe that's why it earned its place in my top 5. Number 4 sort of surprised me, and that's Mystic Timbers. Typically, I'm not the biggest fans of woodies, but this one had me rethinking that, clearly because it beat out Banshee. I loved the theme of this ride, I loved how it took you into the woods, it was exceptionally fast and totally thrilling from the first drop all the way to the end, totally regaining my hope of a good quality woody. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Number 3 may come to you as a surprise, but Diamondback I found to be one of the more technically pleasing coasters out there. I felt I got some decent airtime, the tempo of the ride is really good, and had that epic splash at the end where the water gets scooped up, flies out the rear end of the coaster. I also really dug the unique style of seating on the cars, and frankly, it just looks great where it sits in the park. Number 2 on my list is, gasp, another woody. But this isn't your typical wood coaster. It's a true legend. One I have had my eyes on since I saw it on the Travel Channel as a kid, and that's the Beast. It's no wonder why people come back time and time again to ride this bad boy. From the moment you drop in, you are on a thrilling escapade through the forest with underground tunnels, drops, and banks that plaster you into your seats. It's such a long coaster, there's even a second hill climb where you get dumped into one of the coolest features of the ride, which takes you into a 45-degree bank into a tunneled 540-degree helix, reaching speeds of up to 65 miles an hour. And if you do anything at this park, it must be the Beast. I also highly recommend waiting in line at night to ride this as well. It's an entirely different beast. Yeah, you see what I did there? And it is a must-do for any roller coaster junkie. However, if you were like us and weren't able to get a shuttle back to Camp Cedar that night because we left the park well past closing, had no luck getting an Uber, and had to walk all the way back to our campsite, which fortunately was not very far, but advice to those that try it, it's not the most walk friendly as some parts have no sidewalks, so keep that in mind. Before we get to my number 1 spot, I hope you do hit that like button and consider subbing to the channel so you can keep up with my travels. Stay tuned as we visit a really obscure park in Indiana called Holiday World soon. Also, be sure to leave me a comment below letting me know what you think of my list. And here we are, number 1, my favorite coaster at Kings Island, Orion. This was the most technically pleasing coaster at the park, and while it may not be as tall as Millennial Force, it had a killer drop-in where you can get to over 90 miles an hour. It also has some of the best airtime you could ask for. Another one of those coasters where I play, look, there's Andy, like a Toy Story toy, and go limp while the airtime takes over my loose flailing limbs. Anyways, I also really dig the theming of the attraction. You'll always win me over with spacey type things. Theming aside, the coaster seemed like it was as smooth as glass, and rode this probably a dozen times. That's just how much fun it was. With all of this combined, it made it easy to rank this as my number 1 coaster at Kings Island. For this being the first time visiting Kings Island, I was more than pleased with my experience. The park was super nice and clean, had some amazing gardening and theming, the operations were pretty dang good, offered some really great attractions, and I would totally come back again just to get another few night rides in on the Beast. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed my recap of visiting Kings Island. Before you go, enjoy these outtakes I managed to grab, and remember, keep growing your prosperity, wealth, and freedom, and we'll see you on the other side. Oh. They need to turn these into NFTs. That's no moon. No moon. Oh man, those are some big chains. Man. Is it me? Or does anybody else see the shark? It's a very, very neutral looking shark. Yes. Oh no, we have a frog down. Frog down. Alright, I caved. And I got the blue ice cream. This is Kings Island's answer to the blue milk.